I'm Carey Nieuwhof. Founding pastor of Connexus Church, north of Toronto, Canada. And today's verse comes from Peter, who was one of Jesus' closest followers. And when he's summing up to Christians in the first century, decades after the death and resurrection of Jesus, what's most important, this is what he says in 1 Peter 4, verse 8. He says, above all, love each other deeply because love covers over a multitude of sins. Now, I think that's interesting because it sounds beautiful. It's really hard to do because think about it. The people that you know the best are the people it's often hardest to love. Yeah, I mean, you fall in love, the whole deal. But after you've been married a little while or dating a little while, guess what? It's the people that you're closest to that you see the sins of most clearly. My wife sees my sins and I can irritate her. As a family, sometimes you get on each other's nerves. Your coworkers, they're like, easy to love someone from a distance, much harder to do it up close. So what is Peter saying? Like love covers over a multitude of sins? Well, you see, in our culture, usually we think of love as an emotion. In other words, you either feel it or you don't. And a number of years ago, my marriage went through a really tough season. And there were days where I woke up and my wife woke up and we didn't feel a lot of love for each other. But Jesus comes along and gives a whole other paradigm for love. And this is what he says. He says, love one another. He commands us to love one another. And I remember I'd read that all my life, but a number of years ago I read it and I went, wait a minute, he's commanding me to love somebody? Like, how do you command an emotion? Well, maybe love isn't an emotion. Maybe it's a decision. It's not a question of whether you feel it. It's a question of whether you decide to do it. And so I had to learn to make a decision that I am going to act in a way that is loving towards someone. And here's what I've learned, and this is the powerful part. Eventually, your emotions catch up to your obedience. So, how to put Peter's principle into practice? Today, decide to love someone who is getting on your nerves.